I'm writing this from my phone, so bear with me if it's formatted wrong. So last night my wife of 7 years decided to have a chill out night. After dinner, she went to the den and was watching her programs while I flitted between watching the Spurs game football/soccer and doing some odds and ends that I had planned. Next thing I know, she's got the wine out and has had 2 bottles of the stuff. At around midnight I went to check on her and saw she was out cold on the couch. I went to scoop her up when her iWatch thing buzzed and a message popped up on the screen. It said something along the lines of, "Haha, I can't do that, my name would knock 7 shades of shit out of me tongue, p." I wondered what the fuck that was all about, so I pressed on it, and it was a conversation between my wife and a friend of mine. Now I wouldn't say this guy is a close friend, but he's someone I've played 5-a-sides with for years, drank with and have known since we were teenagers. We used to call him Jacket Holder because when we got into scraps as teens, he'd always be the guy holding the jackets while everyone else went for it. Right, so as I said, I pushed on the conversation while this thing is still attached to her wrist, and scroll up to the top, and as far as I can tell it's him that contacts her first unless she's deleted. There's lots of flirting and wink-winking going on, but nothing that you could outright say was cheating. Then I get to last night, and when she's drunk she starts openly begging him for sex. I couldn't believe my fucking eyes. I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact words, but she was saying shit like how much she had always wanted him, how no one would ever find out if he did want to do something, and the last one that fucking killed me, that she was great at keeping secrets. I tried to scroll on her watch but couldn't find any other messages, and I don't know her phone passcode. I put her in her bed and just sat in the kitchen in shock until I fell asleep, then got up for work at about 5:30. When I went to get in my work van, I'd just slunk down on the wheel and realized I couldn't face it, so I went back in the house, grabbed a half-drunk bottle of vodka, filled it to the top with Coke, and went on a walk down the railway line. We live beside a lot of woodlands and a disused railway line that goes for miles, and I've walked about half the length of it. I'm sitting under a railway bridge like a fucking troll right now, just seething at the whole thing. You'd probably think there's a fire going from a mile away due to the steam coming out of my ears. So what do? I don't want to speak to her, I can't even bear to look at her after reading that shit. It was like a dagger through my heart. I just feel like every morsel of love I had for her has evaporated into thin air after reading her begging like that. Fucking yuck. I honestly want to ghost her, man. If I could, I would never speak to her again. The whole "I'm great at keeping secrets" was the thing that got me though. Like, who even are you? It reeks, but it's a case of how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go? I don't care if I'm being honest, I'm just done. I've never felt so betrayed and disgusted in all my life. The thing is, I've invested so much in her, not just as a partner, but as a person. I loved her so much and thought her personality, and by extension, my personality, reflected that of good people. To realize she's a backstabbing snake, makes me feel like a snake. I feel like a worse person than I was yesterday. The only way I can describe it is for someone you looked up to, took advice and life lessons from, to suddenly find out they were a pedo or a rapist or just a downright creep. Your entire perception of yourself and who you are would be shattered because you've taken on board what they've said and invested time into a creep. God, I'm rambling nonsense, I apologize. I'm lucky in that our house is owned by my parents, who 6 years ago moved to a retirement village and we moved in. The house will be bequeathed to me when they die, but I don't and hopefully won't own it for a long time. They couldn't be bothered with the upkeep and all the problems etc. and wanted to see out their final days in peace, so when we do divorce, my soon-to-be ex won't be getting her hands on it. So what do I do then? I'm honestly thinking of just not saying a word and throwing her right out. Also, while walking here, it went through my mind to get my mate, who's a locksmith, to quietly change the locks today. I could feed her any old garbage about something from the doors being broken. She won't care what's going on anyway, as long as I'm about. Then after he's done, lock the front door and tell her to come and look at something out the back. When she comes out, run back in and lock the door behind me. That sounds childish as fuck, doesn't it? Act seriously though, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm staring at a bottle right now and my life feels like it has been ripped apart at the seams. As for that prick so-called friend of mine, there's no doubt he was up to something here. There's also no doubt I wouldn't have caught wind of this at all, so I'll be seeing him very soon. Never mind holding jackets, he'll be holding his face. TLDR, caught wife trying to openly cheat on me with someone I considered a friend from her iWatch. Wednesday, October 28th. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me after my first post, was appreciated. So yesterday, after I had written the post and was in a complete mess, 2 dog walkers came over to check on me as I was concerning them. I told them everything, they listened, and the first thing one of them said to me was, "Son, the worst thing you can do right now is drink, it'll cause carnage." I have to thank her for that because I was on the highway to hell at that point. I threw the vodka away, got in touch with a friend, and he said I could come to his for a while to calm down. He was at work but told me where the spare key was. We live in a small town of around 15,000 people and he wasn't too far away, so once I got there I sat on his couch just trying to calm down. Throughout the morning I was getting multiple texts and phone calls from my wife asking where I was and what the hell was up, as my work van was still sitting in the driveway and I was nowhere to be seen. I texted her back telling her that there was a problem with the engine, so I got a lift into work, which she seemed to buy as she just texted back saying okay. When my friend got back from his work at about 5 o'clock, I told him everything that had happened and asked him his opinion. I also told him not to tell anyone about jacket holder as that might then get back to my wife, which I didn't want at this point. I would deal with him later. By that I mean I'll expose what a little rat he is. Knocking fuck out of him doesn't help me at all as of now. As an aside to the people saying he had done nothing wrong, he messaged my wife first. He was being extremely flirty. What the fuck is he even playing at messaging my wife for in the first place? He only knows her in passing, from afar. Look, I've got no problem with two adults conversing with each other, but they hardly knew each other and it was flirty from the start as far as I could tell. I think they've seen each other while out and about and it's gotten flirty then.